Queensrÿche, Condition Human. Alright, so I have the new Queensrÿche album, of course. I got this the day before the actual release date, so I just need some time to go over it, and I've had other plans, so to speak, so that's why it's taken me till now to actually review it. So anyway, I just want to get this out of the way so that I don't have to, refer back to it again during this review, because yeah, I think we've spoken about it enough. This is the first album from Queensrÿche to come out after the big split that happened in 2012, and it's been resettled in 2014. So, we're basically starting off on a fresh, clean slate with this album here. And yeah, now that that's all taken care of, the band has had more time to focus on collaborating and making sure that this next album sounds the best it can. No pun intended, like if you thought I was referring to the Song of Empire, but anyway, let's move on now that that's been taken care of. One thing to know is that the mixing and the mastering on this album has noticeably improved compared to the previous album, the self-titled Queensrÿche album, which I still really enjoy, but that's just something I first noticed. The sound doesn't really tire on your ears, it doesn't fatigue your ears in the same way as, admittedly, I thought the last album did. Again, I'm not trying to bash the album, I love the last album, it was really good, but I think this improves on that. This is an improvement over that. And if you feel the urge to crank up the volume on this album rather than down, or you don't have to mess with the volume knob too much throughout a song's duration, then you know the music's been properly mastered and it's easy on the ears so that you're able to continue listening to the music. Just listen to this album and then listen to Death Magnetic next, and you'll know what I'm talking about. The songwriting is also more diverse and varied on this release, contributing to the longer, admittedly more appropriate album length. One of the other main criticisms about the self-titled Queensrÿche album is that it was very short for an album of its nature at about 35 minutes, which I know a lot of albums from the 70s tend to be around the 35-40 minute mark, but I guess in this day and age I don't know, maybe we prefer having longer albums, so to speak, but I have to admit it is more of an appropriate length for this sort of music at about 54 minutes long. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. So this is more of the standard album length by comparison to what was offered on the 2013 release. And referring back to the varied nature of the songwriting, there's songs on here like Arrow of Time, which are very old school in nature. It reminds me of Speak off of Operation Mindcrime and Knight Rider off of the first EP, kind of mixed in a blender, but it's still its own song. That's the main takeaway here. Even though there's elements from those older songs, it's still like a song written in 2015 by Queensrÿche today. So that's the important thing to take away from this. And Guardian, Hourglass, and Hellfire, which I believe are more modern day heavy rockers, so to speak. So some people say they're a bit old school, although I think they sound a bit more modern by comparison to a song like Arrow of Time. And then there's ballads like Bulletproof and Just Us. And then there's the prog epic Condition Human, the title track, among other songs. Those are just some of the songs that really stood out for me. There's no song on here that I can say really misses the mark. Even the 50-second interlude, The Aftermath, I think is really cool and interesting. The band as a whole sounds very tight and cohesive on this album as well, more so than the last album, I believe, which sounded as if they were just dipping their toes in the water for the first time and basically testing out everything, playing it safe for the most part. But then we have this album where they're all swimming in the water together and they're very confident with the direction that they've taken, so why not go all guns blazing, so to speak? And I think it works really well. Todd La Torre in particular is really coming to his own as the band's lead vocalist. There will still be the inevitable comparisons to Jeff Tate, but at the same time he has his own style which makes him stand out also. He walks that fine line between paying homage to Jeff Tate while also offering what he has to the table, offering his own unique traits and characteristics that make him stand out from the other. That, of course, adds to the spark that's been re-electrifying Queensrÿche lately, and it's just a very cool thing to see. I'm really happy to see that this band's doing really well. And if I had to give this album a score, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. It grows on you very naturally, and you notice little things that you didn't notice before, and that adds to the overall experience. It's like, oh yeah, there's that. Oh, and oh, there's that too. Oh, there's that. Oh, wow. Look at that. It just grows on you. You see these little things throughout the album that you haven't noticed before, and the overall experience becomes a much more satisfying and much more refreshing experience, so to speak. You'll not really grow tired of this album. I'm actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It's a really great record, and I definitely recommend it to all of you. For any of the longtime fans that grew up with the band back in the 80s and 90s, but haven't really got back into them lately, then I think this is an album for you to check out. And you may change your mind and may like get back into the band once again. I think this album might be able to do it for you. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's a really, really great album. Definitely check this out for sure. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you very much. I'll see ya.